How long have you been making games? This one question, I used to dread it so much. I felt like no matter what I said, I always felt behind everybody else. Like everybody else was like 10 steps ahead of me and I was just like doing nothing. I spent so much time comparing myself to people who seemed way ahead of me. Ones that were releasing polished games, gaining followers, mastering skills that I hadn't even touched yet. I couldn't help but think, is it too late for me to catch up? Is it too late for me to get ahead or just move forward? Because I'm never going to be able to make games that look that good, that play as smoothly as those. I'm never going to get there. If you've ever felt like that before, know that, first of all, you're not alone, and that this video was made for you, because I was there and it sucked. Let's jump into it. First off, let's talk about comparison, because that's usually where this feeling of left behind or feeling behind starts. Me, I'd be scrolling through social media, watching other developers launch their beautiful games, sharing progress updates, or just a simple thing of just showing off their like hyper polished art and music. And then I'd go and look at my own game and feel like, what the heck is this? I'm totally stuck. I'm never gonna get to that. This is like an off-brand topic, but like, seeing those hyper polished games undersell or whatever, like if they're underselling, I'm gonna undersell. Anyway, I had to give myself a reality check. Comparing my beginning or even middle to someone else's finished project was never fair. Never fair to myself, never fair to others, even the people making those games. It wasn't fair to them. Everyone's journey in game development is unique, and there is no one-size-fits-all timeline to anybody. One of the best things that I learned is that the path to becoming a game developer, whatever that looks like, is anything but linear. Some devs start strong and move fast, while others, like myself, experiment for years, making small prototypes before they ever find their groove. Like I said, this was me, especially when it came to programming. I still feel so far behind in my programming abilities, but I'm starting to view it differently, especially over these past few months and years. And I've realized that my own path is one that didn't need to follow someone else's. I've started to appreciate where I am on my own journey. I've learned so much about mechanics, about storytelling, game design, and even about how not to structure a project or how to structure a project with a team. All those experiences were building blocks that had to happen for me to get to where I am now. Oftentimes we want to skip steps, but those steps, they're crucial to where we want to get to. The feeling of being behind often comes from forgetting that skills and their growth come in phases. There were times where I was solely focused on coding, getting every meticulous mechanic right. Other times, many times, I'd get lost on music and art though, and I would stay there for weeks, months, years. That was actually what hindered me from moving forward the longest, was music and art. And it's only when I realized that my journey didn't need to look like someone else's, I could find my own path forward, was when I actually started to move forward. Not every phase looks as productive as the next, but each one is so important. It's vital. Take that time to go deeper and look at things from a different perspective as to how to reach that end goal. That's what changed things for me. Instead of being hyper focused on art and music and how I couldn't, do it myself, I looked to others to help me with that. And taking that time to look deeper changed everything for me. And taking the time to go deeper also gives us a more well-rounded skill set. And that's what we're doing as developers anyway, right? Building layers of skills that all add up to the projects we create. I often view myself as a jack of all trades, knowing just a tiny bit of everything. And I feel like that brings value to, a team or just game development in general, because you have a baseline of knowledge of even just where to look. It's weird. I used to think of myself as a jack of all trades as a negative thing, but that's changed. That's changed. I totally view it as a skill. But something else that helped me get over that I am behind mindset was focusing on consistency over speed. Early on, I would get, as I mentioned, all with art and stuff, I'd get so discouraged that I would take steps back from my project for months. I think my longest one was even a year. I would just be like, I can't do this. That feeling especially happened when I'd look at other projects, obviously. But game development is, it's a marathon of tiny little steps, not a sprint. By just committing to small steps forward, steady progress, showing up to work on my projects every day, or, sometimes it was every week, I noticed my skills were growing. Even in the ones that I lacked, I started to finish things, especially, that when I got that team that I talked about. And that's where real progress lives, just showing up in that consistency, not in how fast you can get a game finished. And consistency looks different for everybody. Sometimes it's as simple as just having more time. It's not always so black and white. People are going to move at different paces. I always just be like, I guess I'm dumb or something like that. And it's not the case. Don't be so hard on yourself. It's not always so black and white. I actually had to relearn how to use others' work as inspiration and not just a measuring stick of my own progress. Instead of seeing someone else's hyper polished, amazing game, I'd use it as a reminder of how far I could potentially go. I'd look at it as proof of what's possible with consistency and hard work. I mean, when you think about it, that's why we all started this in the first place. We saw something that gave us that spark. Let others' work ignite that spark again. Play games, fill that creative tank again, and not just see everything as what you're not. Seeing what's out there is actually fuel. It shows us what we are aiming for and helps us keep our own creative spark alive. I think one day I'm going to have something to share too. And when that happens, all that work, I hope, feels like it was worth it. I think it will be. So here's the bottom line. I've learned after years of feeling behind that there is no deadline for progress. Whether you've been developing for 6 months or 6 years, every step forward is a win, especially in game development right now where everybody's making small projects and everybody's like finishing games really quickly. I actually love that idea, and I want to replicate it myself, but I need to be careful with that feeling behind mindset. We're all moving at different paces. We're all heading towards the same goal, creating games that mean something to us and the players that play them. And that journey, that's the real achievement. We get to freaking do this. That was not the case like 20 years ago. We get to freaking make games. That's dope. Try to enjoy the process. Try to enjoy the process. It's easier said than done, I realize. I have to remind myself quite often I'm not perfect by any stretch of the word. I still struggle with this, but reminding myself why I started, reminding myself that this is why I started has changed everything for me. So how long have you been making games? Doesn't matter how long you've been making games, because the point is that you're making them. How amazing is that? If you feel left behind, remember that every day you're putting in the work, you're actually moving forward. You're downloading more stuff into that brain of yours. The journey is unique for all of us. It's different for all of us. And there is no timeline for success. So keep going. Find inspiration, play games, and most importantly, enjoy the process, because again, this is awesome. Let me know in the comments below where you're at in your journey. I'd love to hear it. Let me know if you feel behind. Let me know if you feel like you're ahead of the curve. Let me know. I want to hear it, and others want to hear it too. So, like content like this, hit that like and subscribe button. Leave a comment below. Go join our Discord server because it's awesome. There's awesome people there. Also, I stream on Wednesdays and we're releasing a game in a few months. You can play the demo in the description below. So, again, thank you for being here. You got this. I'll see you next time. Bye.